Welcome to On This Day, where we look back at the moments that made history, one day at a time. From major world events to the weird and unexpected, every date has a story. So, what happened on 19th of June? Let's find out. June 19th is a day that carries deep historical meaning from freedom and justice to landmark inventions and unforgettable sports moments. It's a date that's been a turning point for entire nations, a launch pad for future legends, and occasionally the scene of something downright bizarre. So buckle in, there's a lot to uncover. Let's start with what's probably the most significant event associated with this date. Juneteenth. On June 19, 1865, Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced that enslaved people were free more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. That moment became a powerful symbol of freedom and is now officially recognized as a federal holiday in the U.S., celebrating the end of slavery and honoring the fight for equality. Jump ahead to 1964. The U.S. Senate passed the Civil Rights Act after a grueling 83-day filibuster. This legislation would become a cornerstone of American civil rights, thus outlawing discrimination based on race, religion, sex, or national origin. It wasn't just a law, but it was a seismic shift in justice and equality. Now over to 1910 in Spokane, Washington. Father's Day was celebrated for the very first time. Inspired by a woman named Sonora Smart Dodd who wanted to honor her single dad, the idea took off slowly but surely. Today, it's a holiday that brings dads ties, tools, and a whole lot of love. In 1978, the comic strip Garfield made its debut. Created by Jim Davis, this lazy, lasagna-loving orange cat instantly won over hearts and took over newspapers around the world. Whether he was hating Mondays or tormenting poor Odie, Garfield became an icon of cartoon comedy. And in 1934, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, was established in the United States. Basically, if it involves radio, TV, or phone signals, the FCC is keeping an eye on it. They've been managing the airwaves ever since, shaping everything from what you hear on the radio to what you're allowed to see on TV. Back in 1961, Kuwait declared its independence from the United Kingdom. A tiny country with massive oil reserves, Kuwait would go on to play a huge role in global politics and economics, especially in the decades to come. Let's not forget June 19, 1987, when Benazir Bhutto, already a rising political star, became the first woman to lead a Muslim-majority country. While her official election as prime minister came a year later, her leadership on this day marked a pivotal moment in the history of Pakistan and the wider Muslim world. Now for something a bit tastier. In 1846, the first official baseball game was played in Hoboken, New Jersey. The New York Nine beat the Knickerbockers 23-1, and while the rules were a bit different back then, this moment laid the foundation for America's favorite pastime. Let's throw in a little drama. In 1953, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed in the U.S. for espionage. Accused of passing atomic secrets to the Soviet Union, their trial became one of the most controversial moments of the Cold War. Decades later, their guilt and the fairness of the trial are still debated. And speaking of icons, on this day in 1967, the Beatles released their album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, in the U.S. Yes, it had technically dropped in the UK a bit earlier, but this day marked its full transatlantic takeover, reshaping pop music forever. Love discovering what happened on this day in history? Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get back into it. In 1623, French mathematician Blaise Pascal was born. A child prodigy, he was making discoveries in geometry before most kids even learn long division. Later in life, he helped shape theories of probability, fluid mechanics, and even laid the groundwork for early computing. In 1843, a guy named Charles Goodyear received a patent for vulcanized rubber. You may not think rubber is exciting, but without it, we'd have no tires, no sneakers, and probably a lot more broken stuff. Goodyear literally bounced into history. Back in 1983, astronaut Sally Ride made headlines again, this time for being in space. She became the first American woman to actually fly in space on June 18th, but her mission continued on into the 19th, breaking barriers and showing the world that science was not just a boys' club. In 2012, the Walt Disney Company opened its first theme park in China, Hong Kong. Disneyland had already launched, but on this day, Disney broke ground for Shanghai Disneyland, expanding the magic across the globe and bringing Mickey to millions of new fans. And here's a sports classic. On June 19, 2016, LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers made history by winning the NBA championship, coming back from a 3-1 deficit to defeat the Golden State Warriors. It was the Cavs' first NBA title, and it ended Cleveland's 52-year major sports championship drought. The city went wild, and that game sealed LeBron's legacy as a true basketball legend. That's what happened on 19th of June throughout history. Made it this far? Drop your favorite historical fact in the comments. Learned something new? Hit subscribe and come back tomorrow. You never know what the past has in store.